Who's your favorite president? You're like, what? Well, we just celebrated a week or so ago President's Day, so who's your favorite president? Can be one in the past, can be one currently. Maybe you like a president that's overseas, like a prime minister. So who is your favorite president? No, I was random. It is. But we're going to finish our series, Love is in the Air, and we've been looking at Luke chapter 7, and we're seeing a really amazing story of Simon, who is a religious leader, who invites Jesus to dinner at his house. And when Jesus is eating at his house, a sinful woman from the city comes and pours out over-the-top love for Jesus. She washes his feet with her tears. She dries his feet with her hair. She kisses his feet. She anoints his feet. She is like way over the top with expressing love for Jesus. It's not superficial, shallow, thin love. This is like all in. And she is risking rejection, exclusion, judgment, hostility, people being appalled with her. She's sinful. And that's exactly what she just steps right in the middle of it and blows up the whole dinner party. I'm sure that Simon, the guy who invited Jesus, was like, woo, because Jesus gave him an earful. We looked at the contrast last week between the woman's expression of love and Simon's absence of love. Just customary, common courtesy stuff that Simon didn't do. And her way over the top, goes far and above beyond what anything was customary or conventional. So we see these two contrasts. But Jesus clearly applauds the woman and what her choices and the demonstration of so much extravagant love. But I want us to finish this series and look at what Jesus says to her. Because we see last week we looked at what Jesus said to Simon. And he contrasted with Simon, this is what you didn't do, and this is what she did do. And you're negligent and deficient. And he uses her actions to really accentuate the deficiency for Simon. But what does Jesus say to the woman? Because he does talk to her. And it's important that we look at what he says to her. Because everyone around the table, the dinner table with Simon, and these are all his friends, what they would say to her would be like, get out of here, you're not welcome, you're sinful, you're tainted, you're disgusting, don't touch us, you're going to make us impure and unholy just by being here. Your presence is corrosive and corruptive to us. That's what the guests would say. But that's not what Jesus says. And I like what Jesus says because, again, it's a contrast. And he aligns himself with her at the expense of being contrarian with these guests. And so the first thing he says to her, woman, your sins are forgiven. That's the big elephant in the room, is she is sinful. And one of the things that I really like that Jesus says, if you look at the parable, this really short parable that he does, he says that there's two debtors. One owes a little bit of debt and one owes a boatload of debt. And in essence, what he's saying is the boatload of debt is the woman who is hyper sinful. And the little tiny bit of debt are the religious leaders around the table, because no one is without sin. Whether it's a little bit of sin or a whole bunch of sin. But Jesus says, woman, your sins are forgiven. I think that's so important because at ground zero, that's the big elephant in the room, that this is the problem. She is sinful. We are we are not as sinful. That's the dividing line. But Jesus obliterates that dividing line by forgiving her sins. And then he says to her, your faith has saved you. And this is in front of everybody. And he applauds her extravagant love. And we know that faith works by love. We read about that in 1 John. Faith works by love. And so the fact that she is expressing so much extravagant love is the connection to faith. And it's her faith expressed from the love that saves her, that puts her on equal footing, maybe even a better footing than everybody around her. Your faith has saved you. And then the last thing that Jesus says to her, go in peace. Halt! Stop! The red says stop. We're stopping to make a joke break. I know, you're like, wait for it. Here comes the cheesy, lame joke. So, what do you call sweets, like, things that you eat that are sweet, that can keep a beat? Sweets that keep a beat, what do you call them? Sweets that keep a beat are called candy wrappers. Wrappers, get it? W? No, okay. Well, we're going to get back to the teaching now for something really, really good. You can leave now. You can depart. Nobody's going to throw rocks at you. They're not going to continue to humiliate you, to exclude you, to ostracize, to judge. Because I have forgiven you. Your faith has saved you. And because of that, you can go in peace. And you'll have peace on the inside because my peace I give to you. That peace will far surpass any judgment, exclusion, hostility, legalism, all that exclusion. My peace, the peace of Jesus, settles you on the inside. That no matter who says what or does what, that Jesus has forgiven us. Jesus has connected us with himself. And the love that we have sets us up to walk in peace for our lives because of peace on the inside. So love is in the air, and that's what we've celebrated through this whole series, through this month. And next month, oh my goodness, next month is March Madness. So what is that going to be all about? You got to watch and see.